All right, folks. Welcome back to BEG Wrestling, baby. We are here. At-large bids are out. They're out. They just dropped like an hour ago. We brought the experts in, folks. Dom Zacconi, a wrestler, to talk about it. Involved, he's going to be talking. He's at Campbell. Some of these guys got robbed. We're going to talk about it. The expert, Cornell Kevin. Statistician, Cornell Kevin. Before we get started, folks, I got to say, all prayers out to Scott Casper, USA Takedown Radio. I know he's okay, but went through some health issues this weekend. My scheduled appearance will be pushed back to next weekend, but who cares about that? We care about Scott Casper. Get well soon. We're all praying for you. As I mentioned, folks, we're going to be we got Dom and Kevin on here. We're going to be breaking down the at-large bids, the seating criteria. We're going to talk about who got robbed. And then to finish it up, we're just going to talk about Wrestle Madness in the BEG League and how we're going to be doing some prizes. But before we really get started, Dom, I want to throw it to you because Dom Zacconi, folks, Campbell wrestler, the newest member of the BEG crew here, and you got something to say here.
So we got some exciting news, coming to you today. Not only the at-larges, but we ended up getting a new special guest. I know I've only been here for about a week, but we got a new special guest coming on tomorrow to talk to us, and tell us a little bit about how this year's been going. And that's Jet Strickenberger, and Big 12 champ this past weekend. So yeah, let's clap it up.
Wow, Jet
awesome.
Strickenberger. Folks,
Yeah.
after a tremendous weekend he had, and he's quite the dude. I mean, he's got celebrations
Showman.
that I wish
He's a
everyone
showman.
had. He's a showman, folks. Jet Strickenberger, most recently Big 12 champion.
Oh, yeah.
Going to be on the show here tomorrow evening live, and then Thursday live, folks. We got Angelo Ferrari lined up to be back on the show. So, folks, we got a hot week. We got a fire week absolutely lined up here, folks, but tonight we're here to talk about the at-large and who got robbed, who got snobbed. Kevin, I want to throw it to you, man. Thanks for joining the show. I just put your stat up that you sent me. It's the initial implications of who the big dogs who got robbed here in seeding. Man, thanks for joining. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I was really surprised Reese Whitcraft. That was the name that popped out the most because that's going to have some serious implications as far as the team race goes, Not as far as who gets number one, but Oklahoma State not having all 10 guys is a big deal for sure. And then Cleveland Belton is someone that was at 141 last year and did really well and thought for sure he would have a really good year this year going down to 33, but he struggled. TJ Stewart, an All-American, just never worked for him. It never happened, what
a season for TJ Stewart. We talked to Coach Roby at the beginning of the season, and it was like TJ Stewart was up in the air. He had a great, apparently, if you remember, Coach Roby mentioned how incredible his preseason was. And so leading up to the season, it looked like this was going to be a very good year for TJ Stewart, and it does not end great. I mean, but sorry to interrupt, Kevin. Keep going.
No, not at all. Yeah, TJ Stewart, I mean, that's somebody that he just looks so promising. Now, we don't know. Maybe he's injured. We just don't know. It's very suspect for him just to drop off like that. But, yeah, he's not going to be making the trip, which is a shame. Evan Mag, I know a lot of people aren't too familiar with him, but he is he's a really good pinner. I was kind of surprised to see that he missed out. Juan Mora, another really good resume, but he didn't get the job done at conferences. And a couple other guys on there that were at NCAA's last year, but also just they didn't make the cut. But I thought for the most part, I thought it was a pretty good as far as we're not having like tons of people that are just like, what are you doing having off? I do want to mention, too, your teammate, Dom Moulton, Anthony Moulton from 125. He was 17-2 his last 19 matches, and he really poured it on, and I was really bummed to see him not make it, especially considering all the stuff he's gone through with, this being his third school, having programs dropped and stuff, and
two-time alternate as well the last 2 years.
Yeah, that
Oof.
irked me. I wanted to throw it to
Yeah.
Dom to ask him about that because that was the obvious snub from the Campbell squad.
You it's so important to win, to not only win your conference tournament, you might not win it, but to do what you're supposed to do in that conference tournament, especially if you earn a bid and go and, get that bid, because you could see what happens in the back. Like never would I have thought that Anthony Moulton would be at the NCAA tournament this year. And stuff happens not only in our conference but others. And that 125-pound weight class, with only 4 bids, man, it's a toss up. Seeing, you know what I mean? Sotelo and alternate, who Sotelo beat either someone this year or last year, beat some tough dudes
Noto,
in the
Noto,
120.
yeah.
No, yeah, I think it was last year, right? At 125, beat Noto.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
High level dudes that are. I mean, I think he's the alternate. Personally, I don't know if you guys have any experience, but I was an alternate myself, or not an alternate, a at large bid my first year, going to nationals.
Wow.
And I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea I was going. I was told I was out. You know what I mean? I was
Ooh.
told I was
Wow.
out. So yeah, I was like, me and coach had a talk. He brought me to guys like that. He's like, it's not looking good for you this year. I didn't even know I was in the running, if I'm being honest. And he's
Man.
like, we still might take you. And turns out one of the dudes I beat ended up All-American that year. And that was the guy that helped push me get into the tournament.
Wow.
So
That's incredible,
I
Dom, and that's
honestly,
a good.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, man. I was going to say that's a great transition into maybe with some of these guys who did make the cut. And I put up the list right now from 125 to 149. What are some of these guys going through? Some of these guys, like you just mentioned, might not have even expected to be here.
Kevin, how much are you an expert on how the whole system goes with all
I,
this
I'm
and what
pretty,
goes into
I'm
it?
pretty, I'm pretty solid on it. Really solid actually. I started trying to figure out some of the seeds already actually.
I'll put up.
Um,
Kevin posted. We got the seating criteria. Kevin, I'll put
yeah.
that up. Why don't you talk about that for
So
a second?
yeah. So basically what happens is you got 33 guys in the bracket, right? And what they're going to do is they're going to take each guy and put him head to head against another wrestler in the bracket. And they do that for every single guy. So he's going to have, you know, 32, matches supposedly. And they're going to go right by this. So say they didn't have a head to head. They didn't wrestle during the year. One guy would get 12.5%. The other guy would get 12.5%. So we'll just call it points. Quality wins. Whoever has the most quality wins will get the 20 points. If it's tied, then each get 10. Coaches ranking. That's a big one. Coaches ranking and RPI are going to come out tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And that's a big one because you can see 25, 20, 15, then the rest are 10%. Common opponents, RPI, conference placement means what place you got, and then your winning percentage. And that if say a guy has, he has more points than everybody in the bracket, he'll be 32-0, so he would be the 1 seed. And they do that for every single guy. So it's really important to, have an RPI, have a good coaches ranking, place high in the conference tournament. All these things matter.
Well, you mentioned that. I want to just mention the Flow just released their newest rankings, end of the year rankings, and Alirez, I think, was at like 6. So, all these wrestlers out there who are choosing just not to wrestle, seeding manipulation, we've called it in the past. Wow, can that come back to bite you hard? Dom?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, honestly, it might be even lower because we've seen guys like
Yeah.
being in the SoCon at least. We've had SoCon wrestlers up in the high seeds. Austin Murphy last year at 174 was the 11th seed. And it shows how much with winning conference, common opponents, RPI makes a difference on that seed. Not mattering the ranking, honestly, because sometimes ranking is opinion based off people, even though they're accurate. But there's so much like this that goes in behind it that the NCAA takes to look at it. Go ahead, Kevin.
So yeah, I was kind of fooling around with I fooled around with 157 just to see. I went through and Kazak is going to be the 1 seed. And I figured out Meyer Shapiro will be the number 2 seed. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Just because I already calculated out. And another thing a lot of people were asking me was they were concerned that Kirkfleet was going to be on the same side of the bracket as Gable. Because Owen Trepman is undefeated. I went through and there's no possible way that Kirkfleet's going to be seated 4th. The only way it could happen is if in the coaches ranking, they seeded him fourth behind Treffin and Wyatt Hendrickson. So as long as they seat Kirkfleet 2 or 3, he will be 2 and 3 in the bracket opposite of Gable.
Well, I think we're all
Did
happy
you look
to hear
into
that.
25 and 33 at all?
Not yet, but I'll probably be up all night doing that.
Well, let's talk
I'm about to
about
say
it.
those might be a little messy to start
Oh,
getting into.
disaster.
Yeah, several disaster brackets, folks. But let's talk about who did get in with the at-large bids here, folks. At 125, Coda Coleman, Joey Cruz. The most notably, Joey Cruz here gets in with an at-large bid at 125 out of Iowa. Kevin, is that deserved?
He's got some good wins, and looking at the people, I don't see anyone that was left out except for, maybe, like, again, to go back to Campbell, but I think it's tough. I look at quality wins, who do these guys beat? I look at that more than anything.
Yep.
And I think they're both about equal. It's tough. He is in the Big Ten Conference. I think it's deserved. Yeah. It's close,
How
but
much
it's
does the
deserved.
record go to play on that? What do you think?
Winning percentage is 10%, 10 points. So, that he's not gonna be seated very high because he's got, really low winning percentage. He's gonna be low on the coaches ranking. And
Yep.
RPI is hard to judge. It's all over the place. You really can't judge an RPI. It's tough.
Yeah, but we will. You mentioned we'll get more clarity tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Looking at 133, Dom here. To me, most notably, Evan Frost from Iowa State gets in, but also Tyler Wells from Minnesota, Tyler Knox out of Stanford.
Yeah. Tough guys. I've wrestled two out of the 4 on there, and nothing but class act, All-American level wrestlers that are on that list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All 4.
Was it Evan Frost? Well, how did he do at Big 12? Was he sick at Big 12? I thought I heard Flo mention that.
He did not have a good tournament.
He was sick. I'm pretty sure.
I want to say 1 and 2, 0 and 2, maybe something like that.
Yeah. But I think
not a good tournament.
Ill. But
yeah,
okay.
it looked it.
Kevin, did we miss anyone at 133 there?
No.
141.
What ended happening up to Knox, Kevin? What happened there at 33 at the ACCs?
Knox ended up getting fourth, which was crazy. Stanford had a really bad ACC. I mean, Knox, Lorenzo, Norman, Abbas, they were all needed wild cards to get in. So that was nuts. And Zach, really quick, I'm sorry. One more thing I wanted to say was with 125, it was shocking to me that Spencer Moore needed a wild card to get in because he has already beaten 3 conference champions this year. He's beaten Jet. And he's beaten 2 other conference champions that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's just crazy to see how competitive, D1 wrestling is, really.
Yeah, especially at 125. But yeah, the Rob Cole product gets his chance there. Let's talk about, I guess, where are we at? 141, I guess, right? AJ Rallo, Danny Pusino, Illinois, notably. Josh Edmond, notably.
Hey, that's
Missouri.
family right there. But
what? Talk about it, Dom.
There you go. You know how the cousins go. They go down the generation. That's good old Danny right there.
Hey, there you go, man. Hey, that sounds Italian, yeah, right? But
the
Bellarmine getting in. It's pretty crazy, right?
I think that's their first one, right? Their first guy, I think, to get in.
Their 84 made it. He won the
that's
conference.
Awesome.
From SoCon.
I love seeing that.
Yep.
Very cool.
Same here.
All right.
Besides that, all the other dudes are class acts. Same thing. I mean, Jaden Scott didn't first or second place at Scuffle this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he lives. He grew up down the road from me. Jaden Scott.
Yeah.
Real tough kid. He's got to open up his offense a little bit, but he's tough.
I would bet a lot
of
money.
He's a big 141 pounder.
Kevin knows him very well. Yeah. North Carolina Rob Cole product. Hey, a lot of Rob Cole here all of a sudden, North Carolina. But
yeah.
All right, let's talk about 149. There we go. Winton Dankins gets in at a Campbell. Dom, deservedly so, if you ask me. Sam Cartella, another notable name. Jaden Abbas. Finn Solomon. Who am I missing here, Kevin?
Gabe. What's Gabe? Did Gabe get in there at the bottom too?
Gabe
Yeah,
Willichell.
he
Yep.
did.
Yep.
Willichell did get in.
Missed him.
What's his face there? Trace,
Malik
Willie
Hines.
McDougal.
McDougal got
Yep.
in. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and it's just crazy to see Abbas, man. He had so many good wins this year, but again, uh, the ACC was a very strange tournament. A lot of things went really haywire in that a lot of people didn't really notice because we are too bit, everybody was watching the Big 12s or Big 10s, but some crazy stuff was going on in the ACC, and that was one of them. Stanford just did not show up.
If I'm not mistaken, Jaden in the past has had like rough starts to the beginning of the year and finished super good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, he's good,
yeah,
but it's ups and downs that happen
he
to him.
uh he he did All American, and then last year he was the one that beat Kazak first round at NCAA's before Kazak went on his run.
Wow.
Yeah, and he blood rounded. I remember watching him wrestle someone tough in the blood round that year or last year.
Yep.
So no
Yeah.
slouch. You know what I mean? At all.
Yeah. He's just got to remain consistent, and he was doing it for a while, but then it's kind of been all over since then. But he's a tough out for anyone.
Dom, talk about Wenton Dankins. Okay, he gets in. Your boy, your Campbell boy there. I mean, what kind of shot does he have here at
second year in the
NCAA?
lineup. And what I could say is that it's so hard being in, you know what I mean, within the group, within the team, and seeing the results and the emotions and stuff like that. And the kid works so dang hard, like. So him and they all just work so hard, and it's funny because not funny, but to see Tone not get in and the emotions that way, and then Witten to get in and the emotions switch the complete other way. Now you got to be happy for him and sad about the other thing. But I'm so excited to see him wrestle. I mean, at Scuffle, the dude went off, so anything can happen. I've seen him wrestle so tough. You know what I mean? Have awesome weekend, and it just takes one weekend. So I'm excited to see him wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
saw him
awesome.
firsthand, and yes, he is fun to watch. I'm rooting for him, rooting for
Yeah.
Shannon Hannah, who's in the tournament.
Uh-huh.
There's some
Yeah.
fun Campbell wrestlers, folks, in here, and what Sintis is doing there. He's building a program. But all right, folks, that takes us to 157 at-large bids. Who got in here? Let's go down the list here. Maybe some notable names: James Conaway, Christopher Hamlin, Dylan Evans. Kevin, why don't you talk about 157? Did anyone who maybe deserved to get in who didn't?
It's kind of this weight was kind of nuts. It always is. It was last year too. Trevor Chumbley barely made it in, and he was having a great year. Some
Yep.
of the really disappointing ends I saw I couldn't believe how Cody Chittum just kind of took a dive at conferences. He was really set up to do well,
Yeah.
and he just really fell off there. DJ McGee beating Johnny Lovett was a big upset in their conference tournament in the finals. Johnny
Yep.
Lovett is really solid from Central Michigan there. But yeah, this weight, there's a lot of landmines, and I'm really curious to see. I mean, everyone says, you got Kazak and Shapiro, and that's what it looks like. But Hippolito is very dangerous. He did win his conference tournament. I think he might even possibly get the 3 seed. When I was doing I got to dig a little bit deeper there, but he's real tough, and it's going to be interesting. You don't know how Teamer's going to be or where he's going to be, but I think everybody got in that should have got in for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, Tom,
Do they have 7 at large?
I think
one,
it was
two,
something
three,
like that.
4, 5,
Or no, it
6,
was
7, 8,
yeah,
8 at
yeah, 7 or
157.
8.
No,
Yeah,
one
8.
alternate.
Wow.
7 with one
You
alternate.
don't
And one
see that.
alternate. Yeah,
You
there
don't
was
see
7
that
and
too
one
often.
alternate.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
so everybody got in that should have. If you didn't get in, then it wasn't your year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep,
No, that's a
exactly.
fair point. But no, you mentioned the Big 12. We didn't even really have a chance to talk about the Big 12 conference championships, which, to me, the big takeaway, Oklahoma State going, 1-5 in the finals there. David Taylor and
Yeah.
Gilman coaching on the sidelines. Did you see Gilman give Taylor? I mean, they were not happy. Oklahoma State is not. That is the least happy I've ever seen a program come away with a conference championship. And wow, but
Zach, can I say something real quick?
yeah,
about that 1-6. I wasn't really that surprised that they went 1-6 because I was looking at their team and I don't think they're going to have one NCAA finalist. Unless Hamidi is to upset uh, Levi, or Hendrickson upsets Kirkfleet, I don't think they're going to have one. And they are just such a solid team, though. They could have 7 or 8 All-Americans, but I don't think they'll have a finalist. So I wasn't too surprised by that. But all the
You
guys
never
that
know at
lost,
125.
yeah, yes, yeah, you're absolutely right with that, especially with Spratley.
Yeah,
But
no. No, it's interesting. I mean, and you want to talk about the different. You thought, I mean, here, I'll say this real quick. Everyone, like, if you look at the Bill Belichick coaching tree, being close to greatness doesn't always translate to greatness. Like, all his coaches fail, as opposed to, like, Andy Reid. There's people who are great coaches and also great trainers. And is Kale, being close to Kale doesn't necessarily translate to also being the same kind of great coach. Maybe David Taylor. I don't know. But clearly Thomas Gilman he is dead serious. Thomas Gilman is dead serious.
oh yeah,
dude. Oh my God. I love it. I love it, dude. He had guys ready to run laps, dude, before they even took the pictures. But
he's
Did you
intense,
guys
man.
see the only other coach to win the Big 12 as their first year was Cal?
I know. I
really?
saw that.
Yeah, and then
And
David.
yep. And I read that, and that's part of what really kind of made me think that's got to be the least happy. David Taylor, clearly, visibly, he was
Well,
not happy with that. But
how close was that? I mean, literally, if
and
Wyatt
what
doesn't finish that match, they tie. They tie
and is
Northern Iowa.
and how hurt is Wyatt? Because that looked like that could have been like a
Oh
fracture
man,
in the hand or something. That's something you can push through in the time, but then you get it X-rayed after the fact, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to end your season." But I don't know. I don't want to start
I
any
hope he's
bad
okay.
rumors, but yeah. We got Starkey in the green room, but let's move on real quick here. Let's talk about 165 before we bring him in. Gunnar Filipowski, Will Miller, Tyler Lillard, Drake Rhodes, Anthony White get in. Anything there, Kevin?
I was glad to see that Will Miller got in. I believe, he really deserved to get in there. And as far as just the 165 as a whole, I'm just wondering if my boy Julian Ramirez is finally going to get on the podium, man, because he's been in the blood round 3 times. 3 times in a row he's been in the blood round. And if he gets the blood round again, he'll join Mickey Felipe as the only guy ever to be a 4-time blood rounder, which has to sting you here. But I would argue there's not a guy with a better resume than Julian Ramirez that has not been on the podium. He's just, he's had really, really bad unfortunate things go on. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Dom, is there anything that you see we're missing here?
Yeah.
165.
Now, excuse me if I get the names wrong. But Flipowitz, I think it's Flipowitz, something like that.
Yep,
They're hard to
you got
pronounce.
it.
I watched him wrestle at Scuffle, and man, did he look good. So when I was watching him there, same thing. If I watching him again at NCAAs, and if I see what I saw there, man, I expect that guy to get on the podium. It was
He
very, very,
was.
very good wrestling.
And it
He
Very
happens
was a
good
every year,
stud in
wrestling.
man.
that
Yeah.
tournament.
And it
Yeah.
You're
happens
right.
every year. Someone from a school like Army West Point comes through and shocks the world and makes a podium. But let's talk about 174 here. Malik Takis, Nick Incontrera gets in. Jackson Turley gets in. Lorenzo Norman, that's a big dog getting in. Michael Wilson getting in. Well deserved, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the guys that needed wild cards this weight almost more than any other weight, maybe outside of 133. I mean, I know I won't pronounce his name right there, but the Bucknell wrestler,
Yep.
he just had a win over Simon Ruiz last week by a major decision. In Contrera he's been ranked as high as 7th this year, and then Norman has been 4 or 5 all year. So
Yeah.
wow, this weight's very, very deep. Even like the EIWA final I watched between Danny Wask and Brevin Casella was like a double overtime. That was awesome. The one disappointment I would say is Carson Karchla. I thought he had a chance, and I remember I said this on the last show. I thought he had a chance to possibly win the Big Tens, and he he took fourth, and now I don't see him in that upper tier with those three guys. You
Well,
know?
he ran into one of the Bernagle Bros. He lost to a Bernagle Bro
Yeah,
twice. Dude, they came
Oh
out of
yeah,
nowhere.
it happens, man. It happens.
The Braun Eagles. Hey man, Danny and Zach have both been fighting at that NCAA tournament year after year.
Oh,
Literally
sleeper
blood
picks
round
in
Yeah.
setting too as
fantasy,
well, right
folks.
there.
Those Bronicle brothers. I hope I'm saying that right. And that poor mom they interviewed during that match. Oh, get out of her
Oh,
face, dude.
horrible.
Get out of her face, while although it's good material. But all right, Starkey's still hanging on. Let's talk 184 here. Caden Rogers, Colin Fedgley, Colton Hawks, okay, Ryder Rogotsky, Dennis Robin, and Lamer there from Cal Poly getting in. Kevin.
Colton Hawks, he's been real solid all year. And let's see here. I'm trying to see the Ryder Godsky, Colton Hawks. Yeah, I mean, I think more than enough got in here as far as nobody got left out for sure in this weight. I don't think.
I agree with you there. And
Yeah.
wasn't Hawks like he was like a blood rounder, round of 16 last year or something like that?
Yeah, I believe
If I'm not
so.
mistaken, at
He
84,
was
somewhere around there.
he was ranked as high as seventh, I think, this year too. He's tough, but
Yeah.
again, you know,
And then
it's I wish there
Ryder.
wasn't so. Yeah,
Go
he's
on.
a pinner.
I was
I
gonna
wish
say
there
the
wasn't so
same
much
thing.
wrestling going
Pins.
on at once, you know?
Yeah. Besides,
'Cause
what was it? The Pac-12 on Thursday.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
that was awesome.
I was talking to Tom Houck from Claw earlier today about I love the multi-view experience, but you know, when you do what we got to do, I said I actually had to go. I had to watch the semifinals twice, minimum, just because those matches were so much going on, dude. Like it was not boring wrestling. I had to watch it twice just so I could watch each match individually twice.
You're
and
right.
focus
You're
on
right,
it,
man. You get rubberneck. You're like rubbernecking all over the place, and
Yeah.
can't remember what's
Real,
what.
real fast. Looking at the comments, Austin Murphy he's saying he could see two All-Americans at 74 from the at-larges.
Well, that's a great
Murphy,
point.
incredible 174 pounder last few years when he was in there in the mix.
Yeah,
Austin Murphy in the comments. Oh, we
I
appreciate Austin
agree.
Murphy in the comments, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Coach
That's a
at
great
SIUE. That's a coach at
That's a great
SIUE right
comment.
there.
Yeah. Hey, we'll try to get your comment up, but and we still got Starsky in the green room. I think he's at the ACC tournament right now, folks, wearing a BG shirt. But before him, let's talk about 197. I'm pretty sure 197 at-large bids here. Carson Floyd, Wolfgang Frabel, Tucker Hogan, Joey Novak, and Luke Cochran. Okay, couple big names there. Novak, like he's got a chance to AA, right, Kevin?
Absolutely, man. He's been top 12 all year, and I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if he AA'd.
Luke
Here.
Cochran. I don't know. Dom, you know
He-
anything about
he's-
Wolfgang?
That's the guy from West Point, correct?
Yep.
Yep. The only reason I know that is because I thought he had the coolest name ever.
That's what I was
when we
going to
wrestled him
say.
last year.
Absolutely, man.
That's exactly what I was going to say, dude. but-
No, but he's tough. I think he won the scuffle as well this year, first or second, one of those. I remember seeing him in finals. Novak, I think's been having a little bit of a down this second half of the season. You never know what's up, sickness, whatever. You know what I mean? Something could be going on, hurt, injury. But he is very, very tough. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Tough wrestler. But you never know what's going
Yeah,
on with guys, especially the older they get, and then you're how many months into the season? 4, 5, 6, however much it is.
Oh, that wear
You
and
never
tear.
know what's going on.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up, and then we'll get Starsky as a call in here. 285, Daniel Herrera, Isaac Trumbull, Lance Runyon, Slav, and Xavier Dolan. Dude, these are some big names here in at-large at 285. Clearly, some of these have
Yeah.
a chance at AAing, Kevin.
yeah. I mean, Isaac Trumbull. I don't know if he got hurt or something,
Yeah.
but it was. I was shocked to see that. I mean, hats off to Pitzer who won the ACC, but Isaac Trumbull. Do you guys know anything about that? Did he get injured or?
I don't.
I honestly haven't heard anything. You see it, and he might have not been there mentally that day or physically. Like something could have been up, where they're just like, we'll save it
Yeah,
for the end. And bid. They're hoping on that bid for the NCAA at large bid. You know.
And
Yep.
the funny thing is Owen Treppan was Isaac Trumbull's backup. I mean, at the start of the year, Owen had to transfer to Lehigh, and now Owen's
Yep.
sitting there 21-0, and he's got a win over Colton, which is looking better and better. Schultz,
Yeah.
Yep.
and wow, I mean, it's just nuts how things like that work out.
Yeah, that is crazy. Like, who would you take in that matchup right now? Trumbull and him, Kevin.
Yeah.
I think I would take Trumbull because I think that he would have like a mental edge over him. And but Treffin is, I mean, hey, he's undefeated. He's beaten everyone that's come across him. At the same time, I think that his schedule hasn't been anywhere near, the schedule
Yep.
of Trumbull.
Yep.
But
But how
Okay.
ready is he physically if he is hurt? I think Stetson down
yeah,
in the comments is saying that he is a little bit beat up, or he saw him limping off the mat. Like, you know what I
that
mean?
makes sense.
How ready is
Yeah,
he? I mean, we were talking about K-Sac last week, and look at him, went out and dogged everyone.
Yeah, it's very
yeah,
true.
You know?
And Dom,
yeah. He looked
Yeah.
great.
Hey, you guys want to know something funny? And hopefully Lance is watching. I wrestled Lance back in the day at 106 when we were in like high school or something like that. So
No
it's funny to
way.
see him up at heavyweight.
Runyon?
Yeah.
Get out of
Yeah.
here,
Everyone
dude.
I wrestled
What
when I
was
was in
he?
106 is big.
Oh
Was
my
he like
goodness.
6 years old or something?
No, we were the same age.
Wow, so you know his style. But hey, you mentioned Starkey. Hey, hung on for a long time again. Starkey, let's bring you in, man. How you doing? Where you at there?
I'm doing well. Doing all right, I should say. It was a tough day for the Tar Heels in the ACC tournament. Just a quick recap. First, Trumbull got hurt. Right, he wins that probably 9 out of 10 times. When he came out for the consolation round, he didn't even have. Yeah, I mean, he just walked on the mat just enough to forfeit, kind of like Carter Starachi did last year. Just limped out there and immediately sat down. He was done for the day. So no details, but I really hope Trumbull will be back. Overall, honestly, the big story of the ACC tournament was UNC disappointing a lot. NC State also just took a huge step back from last year. They kind of expected it. It's not that a lot of NC State guys really underperformed, but they've won like the last 6 tournaments, and Virginia Tech just really stepped up. Pitt had 4 finalists. Like everybody did pretty well except for UNC, which obviously sucks for me as a Tar Heel fan. But I think the other big story is this is really a down year for the ACC nationally, right? There's no, there's no Mekhi Lewis, no Trent Hidley, no Nino Bonacorsi. Caleb Henson is legitimately the only threat to be
Mhm.
an actual title contender. Like that's it. For a long time, I wanted Lachlan McNeil to be that. I think his ceiling is pretty apparent now. He's just not that. So again, as a Tar Heel fan, it was just a sad, tough day, but pretty exciting for the Hokies. That's the big takeaway for the ACC tourney.
We talked to Coach Roby at the beginning of the season. I'm not surprised to hear that Virginia Tech's doing what they're doing, and I mean he was one of Bo Bassett's finalists, Final Four, which you can say that doesn't mean much, but I'm telling you, folks, to the youth of America, those youth wrestlers, that means a lot. Coach Roby's doing good things. UNC, that kind of surprises me, man. Rob Cole,
Yeah,
we're big fans of Rob Cole.
yeah.
And NC State,
They were not
Dom,
ready.
you better get that program started sooner
Yeah.
rather than later down
Hey,
there.
what did you
It'll take time.
what did you think about Pittsburgh's performance though? That was pretty surprising. They came to wrestle.
Yeah, overall, like Pitt overperformed in the heavy weights. Of the 4 heaviest weights, so 285, 97, 84, 70, 74, they had finalists in all those big weights. My brother and I were joking, like Nino is definitely still in the room, right? Given the big guys a little bit of a good workout. They actually beat State by like a point, which again was a big surprise. So they had a really good performance overall. Stanford way underperformed. We were actually sitting in the Stanford family section, and it was just very disappointing, right? Lorenzo didn't really look very good. All of their studs just didn't quite live up to expectations.
They basically, I think the only guy that looked good for Stanford was Hunter Garvin. But
Yeah.
what I just want to ask you something real quick. What do you when you talk about guys that have a chance, a title threat? How do you feel about Connor McGonigal at 133? I know he's not flashy or anything, but this is a guy that was in front of Crookham and lost to him in overtime. Had he not lost that match in overtime, that sets a whole domino effect of certain things to happen at that first tournament, you know? Do you think he's got
That's
a
fair. You
chance, or
know,
do you think
he and 125 is another weight where ACC has a couple of like legitimate top 5 threats. I just don't see him actually, usurping the Big Ten powerhouse options at 133. But I'm a little,
right?
honestly, I'm not really a Virginia Tech fan. So there's a little bit of
Yeah,
bias. I'm always pulling against McGonagall for North Carolina, NC State. So I don't really,
right.
no offense to him, but I don't really like him that much. So that's got something to do with it. I
All
got to
right,
Yeah.
admit.
that's fair enough. Fair enough.
Starkey, I
Yeah.
gotta say,
I have
man.
two other.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, finish up. Go ahead.
Two other quick things, and then I don't want to take too much time here. First off, I roped a couple of my friends into showing up, which was a lot of fun. Zach, I sent you a picture as well. So interestingly, Kale always talks about wrestling should be easy, right? I mean, I went to this sounds silly, but I went to a museum in Quebec a couple weeks back, and they had this wrestling exhibit, right? It was just kind of the history of wrestling, WWE, all this stuff. And it started out with showing like cave paintings, right? I mean, 10,000 years ago, there are cave paintings of people wrestling. It should be easy. It should be obvious. And here I am sitting next to my friends having to explain everything. And they're like, we should know who's winning. So his two recommendations, right? He sat with me for about half the day. Is push out point would help, and then be very aggressive about stalling. Like in the ACC finals, every single first period except for one was scoreless. Just think about that. We sat there, for like all these 3-minute periods, and it was scoreless. So he suggested, and again, total novice, but push out point and stalling would fix 90% of the problems to simplify things. So I'm curious what you guys think, and then I have one more quick topic as well, but I'll pause there for a second.
I completely agree. I mean, I think sometimes the layman fan is who you need to be asking these kind of questions. And you said it best. Like, if you have to sit there and explain something to someone, that is not helping us grow this sport and get fans. But Dom, Kevin, thoughts?
Good, Kevin.
I think that it just needs to be consistent. Try to limit the amount of gray area for officials to decipher calls on their own, because it sucks for them too. They want it to be just this or this.
Yeah.
Most of them, So go by the rules, And I'll say it again: the top wrestling stalling. I see it all the time. 35 mat returns is not working for a turn. It's stalling, if the guy's getting up over and over and over and you're just taking him down, but they don't call it. They're not calling the push out stalls consistently. Sometimes they call the guy. It's supposed to be if a guy pushes the guy out, you call him for stalling. They only do it sometimes. It can't be like that. I think if it was consistent, it would definitely help.
Dom, have you experienced anything like that?
It did not happen at all this past weekend at Southern Conference, and there was so
That's good.
many push outs, dudes backing straight up, and man, I saw an action call, and we're just like, you
Oh,
know what I
geez,
mean?
yeah.
And we're
Wow.
like, what? I thought the rule was stalling. I get it if they're in a scramble. I get it if you're in a scramble. Or if there's action and then you get on the edge, whatever. But just forcing something and the opponent walking straight back and no
Yeah,
stalling call it's in
it's
the rule
Well,
book.
that's what I like about the push out, right? All of us, right? All four of us as 8-year-old kids, right? On the playground at recess, we played King of the Hill. It's intuitive, right? Like people 4,000 years ago in rural Vietnam, right? In like 2000 BC, were playing King of the Hill as 8-year-olds. Like we should like lean into the fact that this is not a super complicated. This is um it's objective too, right? The push out is very objective. We're not asking refs to make hard decisions. So
Yeah.
I like the idea,
Yeah.
but
It's
I know
so
the
hard to
Wayne
follow
probably
wrestling.
would die if that.
Yeah, I think that's an overall
The
great
tradi-
point. Starkey, you've come with two haymakers here. Hit us with your third while we have you.
All right, yeah. I always got 3 topics, and then I do have to hop actually. Spicy conversation on the Iowa boards today. I'm just lurking around. People are all over the place, right? Calling for Tom's head, saying wait it out. What's most interesting of all, I don't have a strong opinion about anything, but it's like no matter what happens, people just always talk about Iowa. Like Penn State, king of the world, right? They crushed everybody. Who's everybody talking about? And the next day on X, it's Iowa. Like, yeah,
You're
I'm
like
not
the
even.
Dallas
I don't have a
Cowboys and
dog in
Jerry
the fight.
Jones, dude.
It's exactly right. There's just something to it. Everybody loves to hate them, so it's funny. Yeah,
Starkey, man, you're incredible. This is like 2 times in the past week you've been incredible, man. I'm going to talk to you offline.
Yeah.
I know I said I'm going to send you some more shirts because the pics you sent me, they're outdated old logo shirts. I said, dude, I got to give you some new shirts. Let's talk about having you as a regular contributor, ACC contributor or something. But hey, man, you got to go. We're going to wrap this up, and we appreciate your call in, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, man. You're the man.
Thank you.
But all right, we'll wrap this up. Kevin's final thoughts. Then Dom, I want to get your final thoughts. What this experience is like, what a wrestler's feeling like. But first, Kevin.
I'm really looking forward to getting the RPIs and coaches rankings tomorrow. I hope that the coaches do the right thing and don't mess it up too much, because as you see in that chart, it is 15%. It's the third highest deciphering thing. And so I'm just looking forward to that.
Matters.
And then the next day we get the brackets, man.
And we'll be back to talk about it. Dom, your final thoughts, man.
Would not be surprised if we see some of these at-larges do very, very well at the national tournament. You used to not see it as much, but now it's, you got, top 5 opponents that end up in that at-large. So we've seen it before, especially in these past years. I would not be surprised if we see some All-Americans come out of these at-larges,
No, absolutely not. And we talked about a few of them tonight, folks. I would say the 2 biggest snubs from the at-large, Whitcraft, TJ Stewart. But, folks, we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow night with Jet Strickenberger, the most recent Big 12 champion. And I would make the case he's the best at celebrating in the game right now as it stands.
Hey, if people have some questions, too, make sure they comment in below for us to ask him tomorrow or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, folks, join in the comments.
If they got anything they want to know about
questions in the comments. Thank you, Dom. Yep, look
yeah,
Dom's
we'll
a coney,
sure
folks. He ain't no joke, folks. He is not no joke. We brought him on for a very good reason. And
awesome.
Those are your at-large bids, folks. But we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow night, I believe 6 p.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow night, Jet Strickerberger, Dom, Kevin, I don't know what your schedule is, but folks, then we'll be back again Thursday. So, folks, we got a lot. This is the meat of the season, so we're going to bring you the heat. I mean, that's what we do.
All right.
So,
Kevin, Zach, thank you. Thank you for the chat today.
Thank
Dom,
you,
we're
guys,
gonna work on your background
this is
there.
Fun.
But yeah,
I'm gonna get your logo up in the background there.
That's what I mean.
I'm gonna get your head.
Do you
That's
need
what I mean.
need a couple bobbleheads?
But it don't
I'll
matter,
send
man.
you a
You
couple
brought the
bobbleheads.
heat. You brought the heat.
I might
Kevin
need
brought
one.
the heat. That's right, folks. Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow night. See ya.
Take care, guys.